We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
It's time to buckle up for Making Sense of the Madness.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here with Making Sense of the Madness over at Patriot.tv. And it's time to talk Bilderberg 2025 because nobody else seems to be talking about the most important, in my opinion, meeting of the Anglo-American Israeli power structure, okay? With a sprinkling of outsiders, or somewhat outsiders, that they want to bring in even further. And one of the big highlights, in my opinion, now that doesn't mean it's a good thing, but something that needs light shined onto it, is the fact that Jens Stoltenberg, the former head of NATO, who has been attending many a recent Bilderberg meeting, has now been elevated to co-chair status. We're going to go into some of these co-chairs, okay? Because these are the people that essentially are there not only every year, but steer it through their committee. Okay, there's a steering committee as well. Peter Thiel, Eric Schmidt, amongst them. And what have we seen in recent years in Bilderberg? We've seen a movement, if you will, towards technology. Not that technology wasn't a big part of everything, but now artificial intelligence and tech are absolutely 100% at the forefront. And that's another reason that Peter Thiel's buddy, Alex Karp, has also been brought into the fray. Karp really heading up the Palantir division and becoming the mouthpiece for the type of modern warfare driven by AI that is now being utilized by Israel, obviously with Lavender, and the Western world in general. You can see him at CES. You can see him. That's just the Consumer Electronics Show, people. Okay, how far we've come. But also places like Davos, which again is a mouthpiece for this type of globalism. Now, in some regard, I'm happy that at least academia a little bit is acknowledging the importance of Bilderberg. We're actually going to show you. I mean, there's barely any coverage, but we've got 3 recent articles from this year on Bilderberg that we're going to highlight of varying degrees, but one of which is the Georgetown University publication. And it's essentially an interview with one of the academics there that, is it going super deep into Bilderberg? No. But at the same time, the acknowledgement of that power structure and its importance, especially because we've had, for instance, the heads of Georgetown University attend Bilderberg as one of the one-offs. before. I mean, maybe attended more than once, but I can specifically remember, I believe in my film Invisible Empire, there is a Bilderberg section, and it's either, I want to say it's like the professor from Georgetown University speaking about it. I may be wrong. My little brain gets some things wrong some of the time. But in light of my films and the highlights on Bilderberg, Invisible Empire all the way back in 2010, we are going to play the opening section and Bilderberg chapter. They kind of flow into one another from my 2013 film, Shade the Motion Picture, when I was outside of Bilderberg. Now, the thing about this film is, now that it is as old as it is, we're talking a lot about the history of Bilderberg and the old guard, okay? The only one in the new guard that we really highlight happens to be Peter Thiel, which is really important. Webster Tarpley does a great job of that. So we're going to be doing a small watch along with that after we go over these recent news articles. And I want to point out that Bilderberg is right around the corner. Traditionally, it was usually like in the first week of June, last week of May. But recently, it's been as soon as mid-May. All right? And Charlie Skelton, who you will see in this film, who really from our interaction in 2012 at Bilderberg, we really gained a rapport with one another. Because, you know, as a guy who had come from writing in the entertainment and comedy world and occasionally writing an op-ed for the London Guardian. And by the way, he still now, to this day, a decade plus later, does the quintessential work in the mainstream media on Bilderberg. Hands down, bar none, nobody like Charlie Skelton. All right? And I still vividly remember not only taking pictures and going over people and releasing this out there, because really, you know, Bilderberg had not put out their website yet, you know, for their PR relations, which would give just a small rundown of the topics like bullet points. And the official attendees, even though there's always seems to be some attendees or guests that aren't on the list. That's a whole nother topic, okay? Barack Obama, I'm looking at you. Yuval Noah Harari, I'm looking at you too. I'm looking at you too. So you have that aspect of it. But Charlie and I, specifically on 9/11, I don't think he had really grasped the seriousness of the information and evidence that poked holes bigger than Swiss cheese into the official narrative of 9/11. And I remember we were talking about my film Fabled Enemies, the hijackers specifically, and where they were trained. And Charlie just had no idea about any of this information. And he saw it. Now, I went and covered it again in 2017. Now, even before that, we again had built that rapport for 5 years. But it came up again, and he's just like, that movie. He was, as a guy that hadn't seen Loose Change, okay, and hadn't been part of the 9/11 truth movement when it exploded, I think that movie may have been more impactful for the time, because by then, in 2012, 4 years after it had been released, all of a sudden, Joe Biden was the vice president, right? Go even further to 2017, and all of a sudden he becomes a political rival of the current president. Nobody could predict that in 2020 he would actually be the guy, because, again, in 2016 he ran again, and Hillary Clinton obviously was the anointed one. But those films, in my opinion, still stand up to this day. So I need you to thumbs the video up, subscribe, share. If you're new, by the way, all the films are available for free, and I want you to share them, cut them up, share chapters with people in the playlist sections of all the platforms out there, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on Rumble, even if you're over at Rockfin. We've got a playlist, and in fact, you can also find Shade the Motion Picture there as well, which we're going to show a large portion of today. Now, I can't do this without you. $5, $10, $15, guys, it absolutely means the world to me. The buy me a coffee is the way to do it. Please also consider following me over on X. You're going to get a lot of stories that we don't end up covering here, including the ones there, but also raw materials. There's a great op-ed. I mean, we're going to be talking about Peter Thiel today. This is a must-read on Peter Thiel and transhumanism. Okay, a must-read. You're going to get, I got to get Nico House back on the program. Nico House talking about this bill restricting free speech. If you dare to speak out against a nation state, my goodness, what are we thinking? A lot of the Bondi stuff, some humor, and much, much more. I mean, you can even get into the hate and lie shot. So please give me a follow over there as well. Let's get her going. So as I was stating before, Bilderberg meetings are now kind of on the table. They'll show you the list. They put out a little press release on what they're doing. As I talked about before, AI now a big part of that. Climate always a part of it. And vague. I mean, when you say Ukraine and the world, Middle East, China, Russia, look, one of the reasons that this is so significant is because one of their founders, and you're going to find this out, and royalty, Prince Bernard of the Netherlands, he had to step down because he was cutting arms deals. You know how much we talk about arms deals and no one else seems to do that? The multi-billion dollar, hundreds of billions of dollars, if not trillions, plus geopolitical power. That's what those things mean. Trump came in here again, big dink swinging, saying he was going to stop those wars. They're not stopped yet. Okay? And Bernard has to step down because he's cutting arms deals via Lockheed Martin at these things, that it comes out in the press. In meetings that weren't supposed to exist, or if they existed, were just like, they were supposed to be a golfing club. Yeah, right. So let's look at some of these articles on top of it. And by the way, take a look. End of May, early June. This is the earliest it's been, May 18th through the 21st in Portugal. Back in, I believe that's the 2023 meeting. Yes, the 2023 meeting. So they're in Europe a lot, but they did this surprise one in D.C. And I was so disappointed because I literally had my girlfriend and her child at the time out here in Iowa that week, and she lived outside of D.C. Had I gone to visit her instead, I easily would have went to cover this. And unfortunately, because I was not there and I had all those people at my house, and I just couldn't make it. And by the way, I'd love to go to Switzerland for this one. I mean, I'd have to raise $5,000 really quick. I don't know. Like, if someone wanted to donate and people go, $5,000? Yeah, $5,000 is probably what it would take. You're talking about a round-trip flight that is going to be $1,500. Then room and board for 2 or 3 days, okay, which is probably going to be another $500 to $1,000. In Switzerland, it could be more. All right, and then you've got to have a buffer of about, I would say, $2,000 in case you get arrested. In case you have to all of a sudden find somebody to get you out of a foreign prison for whatever reason. I know that sounds convoluted to some people that don't understand this power structure, but that's reality. So chances are not going to be going to Switzerland, but we'll be in touch with Charlie Skelton, who will be there. And obviously, we will be interviewing him, hopefully from the scene, but definitely after the fact. Now, I brought this Britannica up here just to show, again, how far we've come with academia on Bilderberg. So, they give you a small synopsis. Annual meetings, 120 to 150 political leaders, government officials, experts of industry, finance, media, and academia in Europe and North America. Again, because you have the Five Eyes Alliance, and you have so many representatives of the petrol industry as well. You're even talking about kind of the Saudi Arabian alliance on top of the Israeli alliance. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Yes, it is in that Anglo-American, European field, but it extends beyond that. And I would also remind people that the origin story of the Trilateral Commission, which Jeffrey Epstein was a member, was that many of the members of Bilderberg did not want the Japanese to join, but David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Brzezinski thought otherwise. So it was actually, I believe, on a plane ride from or to Bilderberg. It's in the trilateral documents. You can read it. It's their origin story, where they discussed creating a new organization, which would be the Trilateral Commission. And because of the nature of that, and really, you saw those guys kind of really come up in the 80s. There was some hysteria, if you will, more about China, but that ends up being, about Japan, but that really ends up being a cover for what was going on in China via the Rockefellers and guys like Kissinger, where they were going to take over because of the auto industry. Now, there was a lot of truth. I mean, that's Ross Perot talked about it. This is where, we talk about the tariffs today. It integrates into all that. When you're talking about Bilderberg, okay, to kind of bring it back to that, those are the type of things that are getting hashed out. The European Union is Bilderberg, all right? That extensive section in how treaties and Bilderberg and Enye Davignon talked about it. They created the EU, Bilderberg, 1,000%. All right, let's keep going here. So this is from the Georgetown Journal of Internal Affairs. And, this is a dialogue with Lucas Cantor, who talks about the secretive transatlantic Bilderberg Group. So, very baseline questions here. You have conducted extensive research on the Bilderberg Group. What is Bilderberg, and who are some of its members? What has the group accomplished? So we're just going to read this first section here, move on to the next article. Again, only 55 watching live in a stream that's gone almost 20 minutes, 70,000 plus, about one of the biggest topics over there. So I need those thumbs up, everybody. We need you now more than ever. Bilderberg is an elite, informal, private network of hundreds of influential business people, politicians, and intellectuals, primarily from Western Europe, the United States, and Canada, since the beginning of the early 1950s, 54 in particular, folks. Bilderberg has pursued two main objectives: promoting European integration and transatlantic cooperation. The most visible part of Bilderberg's activity is its highly exclusive and confidential annual conference, which usually lasts 3 days. The meetings serve as a forum for networking and debate on political and economic issues. This is a formal program, but private conversations on the sidelines of the event are also important. Yes, it is Chatham House rules. In its early phase, 70 individuals attended Bilderberg meetings, but in recent decades, the number of participants has nearly doubled. The network has central participants who are regularly invited and peripheral members who are only invited once. Members of Bilderberg's steering committee and other frequently high-profile participants include Eric Schmidt of Google. Yes, he's part of the thumbnail, folks. Henri de Castries, Anna Botín, Christine Lagarde, that's the IMF, by the way, and David Petraeus, yes, CIA. Yeah, again, Stoltenberg, Petraeus, you get it? Prominent former members, now deceased, are Henry Kissinger, James Wolfenschan, and Peter Sutherland. Bilderberg's biggest accomplishments is arguably contribution to including European common currency. And, Davignon, a former Bilderberg chairman, hinted that the Bilderberg meetings facilitated the creation of the euro. Davignon and fellow Bilderberg Giovanni Agnelli and Andres Layson sat on the governing board of the Associates of the Monetary Union of Europe. One of the architects of the euro, Thomas Pados Shapoa, served on Bilderberg's steering committee. Before their appointments, every president of the European Central Bank attended at least one Bilderberg conference. You don't say. The first president, Wim Duesenberg, belonged to Bilderberg's steering committee and served as the network's honorary treasurer. Bilderberg's treasurer effectively becomes the Eurozone's treasurer. You don't say. You don't say. And look, it goes on. Totally worth your time. Gladys Piercing Academia, part of Georgetown University. Mark Carney, Western Standard. Got this article right here. Carney's involvement with elite cabal under scrutiny, fears grows over globalist connections. Again, These folks are the kingmakers. If they like you, they will promote you to the top. If they don't like you, they'll put your opposition on the steering committee. At the same time, in 2017, Thiel was already the technology secretary of Trump. Okay? So that's my big concern. Thiel put his guys in there. J.D. Vance. Okay? I think Vance also attended one, let's type it in. Let's do it live. We'll get a new thing right here. We'll type in Vance Bilderberg. Let's see. Did Vance attend? Let's see. That's courting him. I don't know. You know what? Find it in the comments section, guys. Did Vance attend Bilderberg? Vance attends Bilderberg. Let's see. Changes for the modern world. That's 2024. I don't know. I don't want to be wrong. You know what? I don't want to get things wrong. If he attended, you guys let me know. If he did not attend, you guys can also let me know. Let's keep going on here. Former NATO chief Stoltenberg to co-chair Bilderberg. It's out of Bloomberg. Yes, it's something we've got to keep an eye on. And then before we get into this, this clip from my film, okay, this section, if you will, on Bilderberg. Again, free movie. Everybody go check it out. Trump's nationalist, conservative, white Christian agenda. Now, this person, they get a lot of things right, but they want to make it about race, right? And that's where it becomes divisive, inaccurate, and it spoils it. Because otherwise, this People's Dispatch article is pretty good. Like, it's showing who's in his, this is an extensive article, by the way. It's showing who is in the peripheral of Trump that absolutely have Bilderberg ties. There's Thiel, but they call them tech white racialist libertarians. Elon Musk, David Sachs, and then they bring in Mark Andreessen. All right? And let me just, let me talk about this for a second. First of all, I like Mark Andreessen. I think Mark Andreessen has said some very, very, very important things and is changing the game as far as people starting to think beyond what they've been told. Now, at the same time, this is a guy that obviously has used discernment to make his billions and billions of dollars. And I would hope they would have that as well. But I've seen no evidence and of any of these people being white racialists. Just because they're white people? Dude, that just drives me absolutely bananas. It's the human race. I'm not saying bigots don't exist. Show me where Mark Andreessen has been a bigot. How about Peter Thiel? There's a lot of things I don't like about Peter Thiel. Okay? Now, if you want to talk about how they've treated brown people in the Middle East, that's another discussion. That's a totally different discussion. But with that being said, thumbs it up, subscribe, share. We are going to do it to it. This is a section of my film, the introduction, going into Bilderberg 2012. Okay? And explaining Bilderberg. We're going to do a little watch along here. Let's do it up.
The one thing I will say that the past 50 years has given me, I would say that nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Governments do not operate the way you think they do. Banks do not do what you think they do. The police department is not here for what you think it is. Nothing in your world works the way you think it does. There's a far higher, bigger picture.
All right, we're at the airport. We're gonna be getting ready to go through TSA. Well, we're at TSA right now, and just as I figured, they're searching my bag as we speak. Welcome to America. Hey, we just drove through the Westfields Marriott. We made the loop right by the hotel entrance. I actually went onto the property.
And this is the hotel where it's all going to occur.
The globalists are incredibly dangerous. The status quo means giving into eugenics, death, and world government.
And the only way we can get back our freedoms is by fighting the oppressors. And the oppressors are here.
You are scum! You are scum! You are scum! You are scum!
One thing that I'm here to do is to provide a service that the mainstream media is not doing.
A lot of the press is owned by some of the attendees inside of here.
Instead of just harping on them and begging them to cover this, screw it. We are the new mainstream media.
The people inside basically set the agendas and tell them not to report on it.
We are here. We are documenting everything live.
And the fake! And the fake! And the fake!
Uncut, unedited.
All right, we're at the Bilderberg conference, and the police are getting kind of weird.
This is what we're reduced to. I mean, it's just trying to catch glimpses of people in, hiding behind the Financial Times in the back of their limo, which is, it's not great.
And they will be defeated, and they know it, and they're starting to run scared, and they should be, because information is power. And the truth is setting us free.
In 1954, a group of industrialists, political elites, and even royalty set out to form an organization that would essentially pull the strings of society from behind the scenes.
The Bilderberg Group is a group of world leaders, CEOs, heads of banking institutions that meet every year and decide what's going to happen throughout that next year.
The media has largely ignored this organization over the past 50+ years, and even today, when it is mentioned, it's mentioned in a manner in which you shouldn't be asking about it.
Not everyone in the media, however, is in on it. It's kind of this sense that they get of what not to talk about, what may be considered to be taboo.
Well, I'm here in my capacity as a journalist, covering it for this event for the London Guardian.
I remember you were sent down here, like 2 or 3 years ago to Bilderberg for the first time?
2009. And, so I thought it'd be funny, I said, no one covers this, maybe I should go along and maybe it'll be a laugh. And it turned into an absolute nightmare. I got chased around Athens and ended up wrestling a secret policeman in a subway station. It was mental.
Because the mainstream media in the United States has never covered it until now. London Guardian for 4 years overseas really started breaking it. That was a big deal when you guys were covering 4 years ago with Charlie Skelton. At first, a little bit laughing, but then he got arrested. Well, this is really real. And media said it didn't exist to him. So it's the fact that they play that Jedi mind trick. This doesn't exist. These limousines. And New York Times says, no, they know one.
The mainstream media is now acknowledging that these world leaders are meeting, except for there's nothing to worry about. They're not doing anything sinister, even though they meet behind closed doors.
Instead of being humble and saying, I don't know the whole truth, we never do as journalists, all we could do is try to ask questions and do our research. And that's very important for journalists to do. To act like you know everything and to act like what you know is the most important thing is pretty much the attitude of the mainstream media.
They kind of just sit there and repeat what it is being shown on the television screen rather than thinking for themselves.
We've been programmed to believe certain things. We've been programmed to, when we hear certain buzzwords, we immediately close ourselves off to that information.
The guys in here who are deciding on foreign policy, these are the people who are setting the price of gold, setting the price of oil, deciding who's going to be presidents, who's going to be prime ministers. They operate in the shadows. They do not want to be seen. They don't want anybody to know that they are here.
One of the Bilderberg members, attendees, who's regulators over this, publicly has called for an internet ID so they can start the taxing of that and the tracking. That's what China uses.
You know, we just drove up to the security now in press. We showed up press cards and said, can you show us to the press center? And yeah, no, there's no press center. Can we speak to someone who could represent the organization to the press? No, that's not available. Resolutely failing to nurture any kind of proper and grown-up relationship with the press, which is just kind of lame.
The people of the planet are waking up and getting past the puppets. This is about saying, hey, the puppets in D.C. are just front men.
The powerful elite hide behind the curtain of government. They hide behind the wall, the facade of government. And really, they're just a tiny dot that control the masses.
These are the shadow masters. These are the people that actually decide who runs and wins in office.
Tony Blair, 2 years before he came from nowhere to become the prime minister, was here and basically certified. Bill Clinton, little-known governor, comes here in '91, boom, fast-tracked. If they like it, it's on. Countless others, John Edwards, Gordon Brown, John Kerry. Obama was here 4 years ago. We talked to our sources inside, people saw him.
We're big on talking about how we can elect our leaders. Yes, we can elect our leader, but you can't select your leaders. You don't select anyone. Your masters who own you will select who will run. That's all they wanted to know. Just which one do you like best? It doesn't mean much of anything.
The rule of the few, oligarchy, is on the whole the most common in human history.
Through a long legacy, incrementalism, and perseverance, the globalists have managed to sprinkle their people in, essentially salt their people into various governmental positions worldwide.
They plan wars, they plan money inflation, they plan deflation.
My estimate is there are about 30 million Americans who really need a job and who can't get one. So, depression level. This is a depression. It's as bad or worse than the depression of the 1930s.
They plan collapses. They plan takeovers of rogue nations.
They want an organized, controlled system where humans are manipulated. They want the resources controlled by tiny oligarchical elite.
You know, Superman in one of the movies said he stands for the American way, freedom, liberty, and justice for all. Well, I like what Dick Gregory said, you're no longer free or brave. You might want to, for the first time in your life, start thinking seriously about where you're going and where your country is going and what's going to happen to your children and your grandchildren when you wake up one day to discover your freedoms are gone, your country is gone, your protections that were guaranteed to you as a citizen are gone.
Well, it's outrageous. Our government's been taken over by the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower warned us about in his farewell address in '61. Our money's being taken. They're announcing 30,000 drones, armed drones, to surveil us. The CIA says they're listening to our phones now without warrants.
The real leaders are going to talk now. Mommy and Daddy are going to talk now. And when they come out of the meeting, it's always wars, economic despair, and eugenics. I haven't seen anything good come out of the Bilderberg Group.
As the global elite are escalating their agendas, we have to equally bring up our efforts to document these events, cover these events, and make sure that the Bilderberg Group gets exposed for what they're doing inside there.
The mainstream media has become less and less relevant over the years and will continue to become less and less relevant as technology emerges for you and me to bring this information to the masses, to thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions.
Because technology, once again, is that avenue of upward mobility that would allow somebody to challenge your status as an oligarch, right?
The Financial Times of London writer, well, he's a foreign editor, who wrote "And Now for World Government," saying, yeah, we're authoritarian, yeah, we were secret, it's for your own good, we know best. He's here today. The only press that's here are people that literally say, I want authoritarian world government. He actually wrote that. He said, yes, we're secret, yes, we're authoritarian, because we know best. At the top of the pyramid, it's a neo-feudalistic fascist model that uses socialism on the ground to communalize and get people dependent. So it's like a false socialism. But the public thinks they're buying into it as a way to lift up the poor and stuff, but it's really designed to implode societies and to create a post-industrial world controlled by them.
We are here to let them know that their world government has been identified, and they thought they'd implode the world economy to bring in a worldwide police state, but instead it's going to bring them down.
We are going to be in very serious trouble because we are ill-informed, unread, undisciplined, and have been taught to bow down and curtsy before royalty.
If you're an oligarch, you say, I get to rule. Why should you get to rule? Are you smarter than this guy over here? I have a technician who can do things you can't do. Why should you rule? What is it about you? Well, my family, my antiquity. Maybe that's not good enough. If we have a society where people believe in technology and science, they will not tolerate oligarchical domination.
If we don't stand up and take the responsibility for ourselves to stop this globalist agenda, we're looking at a world where our children don't understand what freedom is. We're already seeing that world now. The children born post 9/11 don't understand what it's like to live without the NDAA, without the Patriot Act.
You have left your government in the hands of other people to take care of things for you because you're too busy with your everyday life. Well, when you leave your personal business and your children and your life in the hands of someone else to take care of you, they're going to take care of you all right. Whatever decisions they make, they're going to take care of themselves, not you. Because you left yourself in their care, they will decide what you will eat. They will decide what you will wear. They will decide if you will have a job or not. I will decide how much you will make. And you can bet that I'm going to make 1,000 times more than you do.
In Bilderberg, we have an organization that goes back to 1954. Now, that original generation is mostly gone, obviously. Prince Bernhard of Holland was able to hang on until 1975, when he was knocked out of the picture by the Lockheed scandal, which was a story of bribes that had been paid to foreign politicians.
The reason they want to be secret is the Lockheed scandal in the 70s. They're really worried because they're doing a bunch of arms deals in there.
It was kickbacks on the Hercules C-130 transport plane that had been sold all over the world. Right now, what we see is that some of the most famous people in Bilderberg are now getting on in years, right? We have David Rockefeller, who has been financing, in particular, the North American side, but really the whole thing, with his money and his deep checkbook.
David Rockefeller, who many argue is one of the top globalists in the world, although aging and maybe on his last legs, has really been the face of the Rockefeller family and globalization for quite some time. In fact, in his own book, he states that he and his family are part of a secret cabal that is actually trying to achieve one world government outside of the best interests of the United States.
Why should David Rockefeller, a certifiable cretin, get to dominate the political choices of the political party? Henry Kissinger is now going around in a wheelchair, as far as I can see, also quite aged.
Many people are unaware of the Kissinger-Rockefeller connection. Now, Kissinger, of course, is an ex-Secretary of State, a winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, somebody who's been in the public eye for the better part of 40 or 50 years. Now, Rockefeller meets Kissinger at the Council on Foreign Relations and is extremely impressed. So much so that he gets Kissinger to head up the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. David and Henry have maintained that relationship over several decades since.
I never mentioned the U.S. government or the administration. I don't even use that word. There is an invisible government whose visible head is the Council on Foreign Relations in Manhattan.
And the way that they achieve their goals is they have 20 to 25 central members that go every single year to this conference. And each year, another 100 or so are recruited.
You have the very cream of the banking industry and the CEOs of various huge multinational corporations talking to elected members of parliaments from around Europe and America.
This is the richest people in the world meeting with key national security, NSA people, MI6, European security heads, Von Rumpi of the European Central bank system and the European Union Council. They're all here. They control the issuance of money and credit. This is it, top of the pyramid.
The Canadian connection is huge. Of course, former prime ministers, we have Pierre Trudeau and John Chrétien and Paul Martin and Stephen Harper. Harper was there in 2003. Just 3 years later, he becomes Prime Minister of Canada. Alan Gottlieb, former Canadian ambassador to the U.S., is also a member. We asked him about it. He denied it.
In 1996, you were at a Bilderberg meeting, and also there was Jean Chrétien and Paul Martin.
I don't know if I was at that meeting. I've only been to a few of them.
Bilderberg attendees have included Bill Clinton, Ben Bernanke, Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands, Senator Dianne Feinstein, Melinda Gates, Bill Gates' wife and co-founder of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, David Cameron, Rick Perry, and members of the media such as Peter Jennings and Charlie Rose.
We see that there is a long line of people out there that are using their intellect to manipulate the masses with what's essentially mind control, public relations, propaganda, whatever you want to call it.
Peter Mansbridge of the CBC's The National is also a Bilderberg member. Heather Reisman, CEO of Chapters in Indigo Books, is in attendance, and she obviously can exert a certain influence over the way people think just by owning the amount of bookstores and magazines and newspapers. She's editor of Huffington Post Canada.
Then we have former Bilderberg attendee Sean Parker. He eventually went on at a young age to get recruited by the CIA for a web crawler program that he built. Somewhat of an entrepreneur, Forbes 400, co-founder of Napster, went on to become first president of Facebook. His newest thing is Spotify, which is an attempt to fix what Napster broke. So this guy's kind of profiteering off of both ends, and when put together with the right forces, with the right people, he has been known to be an agent of disruption.
Why should Pamela Harriman, another certifiable cretin, the late now, dominate the Democratic Party with her husband, Averell Harriman, yet another of these stupid, rich oligarchs, right? The stupid sons and daughters of rich men. The Count d'Avignon, Zbigniew Brzezinski, somewhat better shape, right? Spry, but also not immortal. Who is going to carry on this oligarchical tradition, and in what form, in the coming years? And here I would look in particular at Peter Thiel, Thiel, actually born in Germany, but now operating primarily in the United States. He is the co-founder of PayPal, became a billionaire through that. He is also a member of the Facebook board of directors, meaning that he has a fiduciary responsibility, I think, to some of the people who lost a lot of money on that abortive Facebook IPO. And he has this plan to create extraterritorial offshore colonies. So I can only speculate what that means. Slavery, prostitution, narcotics, certainly no minimum wage, no health plan, no child labor laws, you name it. In other words, the destruction of civilization as we've known it. You can have Hewlett-Packard fire 30,000 people, as they're doing, and you can say the remnants and the scraps can be moved to Thiel's offshore islands. You bring in programmers from India. You can actually use such a place to begin to undercut the salary levels, to drag down the economy in the continental United States even further than it already is.
So, folks, that is Shade the Motion Picture. That is the intro. We start getting into other things of importance, such as geoengineering, bioengineering, eugenics. There's a large section on Bill Gates in this film. You see that we just mentioned Melinda Gates. You know, I understand that InfoWars slogan is tomorrow's news today. Obviously, Alex Jones is in this film. This was done completely and totally independently of InfoWars. Obviously, he's in the movie. But how relevant is that just that section of the film to today? I would argue extremely relevant. Sean Parker is another person to look at. You know, we followed up on that for those that are unaware of Sean Parker. Yes, he is the guy behind Napster, recruited by the CIA in 16. Supposedly did not take that recruitment. But I want people to understand that if the CIA wants you at 16, they're going to find a way to get you in some regards, whether you know it or not. Just want to point out reality. So we are going to wrap this one up. I want to thank everybody for watching it. On the way out, thumbs it up, subscribe, share. Go check out the rest of that film. You can do so down below in the documentaries playlist section. I'd love for you to share it. The Gates section, extremely powerful. Extremely powerful to this day. So important. Folks, I need your support. $5, $10, $15 large donors need you now more than ever. BuyMeACoffee.com/Jason Bermas. That's BERMAS. There are other links down below, including crypto. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. It is not about left or right. You watch that film, not about left or right. Always about right and wrong. Absolutely love you guys, and we will see you all on the flip side.